But nevertheless, let's not waste any further time and get started with today with the headline news, as we have a lot of awesome stuff going on. What's not so awesome, though, beginning today with an Envoy Embraer EJ-175 lost a winglet above Alabama, which this was a very interesting situation. So, unfortunately, due to some major turbulence, an American Airlines flight, this was AA3729, was scheduled from Charleston International Airport in South Carolina, flying to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport on an evening flight. Unfortunately, the aircraft was feeling some significant turbulence over the Alabama area, and unfortunately, after a 20-minute late departure, it lost its winglet in flight. The aircraft was luckily safely able to divert to nearby Birmingham, Alabama, as it was passing right by before it had to make an emergency descent to land on the 3,600-meter runway 24, which I think somewhere in the ballpark, I believe, of like 9,000 feet, somewhere in there. But really glad that aircraft was able to land safely. The aircraft was November 233, November. I believe I've seen that aircraft quite a few times, which has been nice to see. That aircraft was delivered to Envoy back in May of 2016. It is a 76-seater, obviously, of course, for Envoy. It's a 5-year-old aircraft, and absolutely crazy. So luckily the aircraft is okay, and I believe they were able to get a replacement aircraft to fly the rest of the flight. But it was really interesting, and especially seeing the pictures, the aircraft looked like pretty much a 737 Classic without the wing, which was quite interesting. Quite an interesting look for that aircraft, and it was really weird. It kind of looked like an Embraer E2 pretty much. So definitely very interesting, but luckily I was able to land safe, and definitely an interesting way to get us started with the headline news today.
Yeah, for sure. It's when I first saw the pictures of it, I couldn't really believe what I was seeing, because I didn't know that winglets could fall off like that because of turbulence. And
yeah,
it's kind of scary too how bad that turbulence must have been if the winglet was able to come off like that. But so many questions that come into one's mind when you see pictures like that. Like, was the winglet, first of all, was it secured on the wing properly? And just again, like, how does a winglet fall off because of severe turbulence? And then furthermore, how bad was that turbulence really? According to like some passenger accounts that I read in some of the articles, they said it was pretty bad. So I mean, that doesn't really help a lot, but you can only imagine just how bad it must have been. And then yeah, I agree with what you said earlier regarding how the wing looked like. It looked like nothing I've ever seen before. Like you said, 737 Classic, which does look pretty similar to that. But I've never seen an E175 without a winglet. So it was just really weird, and that's all I can say regarding it. I'm glad everybody was okay, and I'm glad the aircraft is also pretty much, it wasn't really harmed at all. So, but yeah, that's definitely not something you see every day, and first time I ever seen any news like that before. Okay, and the next news that we have to discuss today is a upcoming merger between two major Colombian airlines, Avianca's Colombian division and also Viva. So basically, these two airlines, there's a lot of mergers going on these days. We heard Frontier and Spirit are planning to combine to create the world's huge superpower of a low-cost carrier. And then JetBlue is looking to take over Spirit as well. And then now we have Avianca and Viva who are looking to join forces, which I would say is some pretty good news. Latin America as a whole is a really big market. Low-cost airlines have really transformed not just South America, but Latin America as a whole. That includes Central America, like Mexico as well. I don't even know if Mexico counts as Central America. I've heard it's actually North America. So, but it doesn't. Whatever the case may be, it's still low cost aviation is huge in Central America, Mexico, just all North America, Central America, South America. It's really transforming this whole area, and matter of fact, the world. I should say. I don't even know why I focused on just one part, but I think it's great news. Viva and Avianca are looking to join forces. I don't know exactly how long the transition would take, but according to Simple Flying's article, the transition would definitely join or strengthen the aviation industry in Colombia, which is great. Colombia is a huge market as well. Like I mentioned earlier, with low-cost aviation, it's transformed Colombia as well for the better, adding capacity and lowering fares, which is great. But that's really all. I don't have much knowledge regarding Viva or Avianca. Avianca is a huge airline. Mainly they are based in Colombia, I think, but they also have a Costa Rican subsidiary. They have a subsidiary in El Salvador, and
Yes,
I don't
yes.
think they have one in Brazil, but they might. I think they had one in Ecuador as well. I
Yeah.
can't remember, but they have. They're a huge group, and then Viva's the low cost airline. So, Avianca being a full service mostly carrier, joining forces with
Kind
a
of like JetBlue Spirit a little bit.
yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't want to say it's weird, but it's interesting. Interestingly enough, Avianca, I've heard they've kind of been going downhill with regards to their service, because they are full service carrier. I've heard their, reviews have been getting a little progressively worse. So I'm not sure what to expect. If it is going to improve the industry in Colombia, that's great. But let's hope for the best, I guess. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, it's really interesting because, like AS said, we have so many darn airline mergers going on nowadays. I can't even keep my ducks in a row in terms of what to expect, because sometimes it's low cost, sometimes it's full service, sometimes it's a mix of the two. And that's exactly what we have with the Vita and Avianca. Now, as far as I'm aware, if I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure Avianca was in financial trouble for the longest time, and I think they're just now getting a little bit better. So maybe that's why their reviews plummeted. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. I feel like, you obviously have so many things nowadays with all the cell phones and all the various forms of entertainment that maybe that contributes to why some people are a little bit more, I guess. The perception of what enjoyment is on a flight has really tanked recently. I guess a lot of people are just kind of so eager to get where they want to go, and then you have to have all the Wi-Fi perfect and all that so people can be on their phones and all that, and they don't want to pay for it or whatever else. So I feel like maybe all of that's contributed to various airlines potentially, perhaps. But yes, it's a very interesting situation. Obviously, Vita. It seems like they've kind of just rose onto the scene too, because I feel like over the last couple of years they've finally started making their presence known a little bit, because I didn't really know about them much till I think 2020 late, somewhere in late 2020, definitely during the pandemic at some point. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing. It's going to be really interesting to see. Again, it really reminds me a lot of the Spirit JetBlue. Maybe it gets turned down immediately, who knows? But again, I can't even keep my ducks in a row with a lot of this stuff, but it's very interesting for sure, and I'm really eager to see where it's going to go for sure. So it's going to be very, very interesting. What's more unfortunate than interesting, though, going into our next article, is United Airlines passengers somehow, someway got an emergency exit open at 4:30 in the morning at Chicago O'Hare International Airport and got arrested for it. So, yeah, a flight was arriving in from San Diego into O'Hare at 4:30 in the morning on the red-eye service, and unfortunately, the guy, I don't know what his intention was. It doesn't really say too much, but unfortunately, he opened the door and caused some huge havoc, which was very unfortunate. It was the second exit on the 737-900 in row 21 over the engine, so they're going to be getting that court case going on June 27th, but it's really unfortunate. There was some unfortunate, kind of some sarcastic tweets going on at that point, so yeah, again, just a very oddball time of the day. 4:30 a.m. to just decide to yeet out of the aircraft after a 5 hour service. I think it's like 4, something like that. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Again, this flight was from San Diego to Chicago, United Airlines flight 2478. Ironically, on Wednesday, May the 4th. And yeah, very, very interesting. And I'm sure AS can attest to it being a fairly long flight, as he actually got to fly it there and back when he went to San Diego recently. So that was very, very cool. But yeah, definitely a very interesting situation. I don't know, from pelicans on the ramp to people jumping out of aircraft to winglets coming off in mid-flight. What more can you expect at this point? Aviation's going absolutely insane. It's absolutely crazy. FAA posted an awesome graphic of what the unruly passenger rate's been as of late, and obviously it went up exponentially due to the pandemic, of course, with all the violence and everything, people kind of forgetting how to act going forward. And it's definitely got better. Unfortunately, one thing that I think has contributed to it a lot, whether you want to call it fortunately, unfortunately, is the removal of the mask mandate recently. I saw that Southwest has been having a lot less issues because of that, so I think that could be a cause of it. Yes, I guess people think it's annoying, and I don't disagree with that by any means, but I don't know why it's a deal to cause huge fights over and everything in aircraft. I just don't understand. And then we had seat reclining for Mike Tyson last time as well, so speaking of which, he's not going to be getting fined, which blows my mind. But nevertheless, it's absolutely crazy. Who knows where it's going to go? And these crazy events, whether it's seat reclining or jumping off an aircraft wing or whatever. And then the Alaska event happened a while back too. So, It just blows my mind, AS. Would you have to agree with that? It's absolutely crazy.
For sure. And just like you said, there's just been just aviation as a whole has been really insane lately. You've been hearing so many accounts of people jumping on the aircraft wings, not even passengers, but like random people breaching the perimeter and climbing onto planes, like the winglets, whether they be sitting on the wing or hanging off the winglet. It's just crazy. I don't know what else to say. This case of the dude opening the window on the 737 from San Diego. That one was especially mind-boggling because it was 4:30 in the morning, and like you said, I don't know why he did that. Whether he was trying to get off early or something, I don't know. But definitely not the first time we've ever heard of somebody opening the exit door and just trying to get off early, I guess. But yeah, hopefully we'll see less of these incidents because of the mask mandates removal. But I'm honestly at a loss for words. I don't know what else to say other than people are weird, and this is why we can't have nice things. But what is nice is a new airline for Canada, Lynx Air, just started its first, not just, but recently operated its first flight from Victoria, Canada, which I believe is on west coast near Vancouver. And so they operated their first flight from Victoria to Calgary, and that was operated by 737 MAX. It's about a 450-mile flight from Victoria to Calgary. That's like Western Canada to pretty much central
It's
Canada.
near Toronto, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So Victoria to Calgary, that's like, Western to central Canada, somewhere like that, which is good. Lynx is a new airline, like I mentioned, and Canada's been really growing as far as the domestic market goes. Air travel in Canada has historically been really expensive. You probably be seeing fares go up to like $450 for a flight between Toronto and Calgary, for example. But with new carriers like Lynx and Flair, who are both ultra low cost, they're trying to bring that overall cost of traveling by plane domestically in Canada down. And from what it seems like, they've really done that. And Lynx Air starting new services to not previously, but smaller Canadian communities. I'm not specifically talking about Victoria because Victoria is a fairly sizable community, but low cost airlines targeting underserved markets that Air Canada and WestJet and whatever don't really look at. I think it's really good, and even if they aren't targeting markets that the legacy carriers do serve, they will contribute to fares being much lower because Air Canada and WestJet. WestJet's not really a legacy airline, but Air Canada, for example, they definitely are more expensive than the rest of them. So it's great to see Lynx Air and low-cost airlines, contributing to making air travel more affordable within Canada. Because Canada is a huge country, and you don't have many options to travel domestically. You could take the train, which is also expensive and it takes forever, or you can drive, which is not really the best option considering Canada's the second biggest country in the world by land area.
The weather conditions.
That too, yeah. So air travel is really important for Canadians if they want to get from one end of the country to the other. So it's great news to see Lynx Air expanding, and that's really all I can say. Just like the U.S., low-cost travel is revolutionizing the industry. So, what do you think about it, dude?
Yeah, I completely agree. And to see all these new airlines in Canada has been really cool. Of course, you also have, in addition to what AS said with Lynx and Flair, you also have, I think there's a new airline that's going to be with Q400s. Their name slipped my mind right now, but I'm pretty sure they'll be going. And I think Porter is also revolutionizing their fleet as well. I think they're getting E95s, which is really exciting. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Could be wrong on that, but it's something like that. So that's absolutely awesome. And they're going to be great compliments to Air Canada, WestJet, everybody that we already got. So really excited about those efforts, and I think they're going to continue to do really well. Again, it's a very interesting market. Of course, you have a lot of smaller cities and a lot of very unique markets compared to the United States. There's a lot more distance between some of the bigger areas in Canada. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see how it goes down. But I feel like the Max will be a huge aircraft for both Flair and Lynx to make it happen. And I definitely expect Lynx to also make it down to maybe even Mexico and the Caribbean at some point. I think it's definitely a great way to end our headline news.